Hey guys, this is Kang and welcome back to Glimpses of Grace. So for today's video, in honor of National Adoption Month, I am collaborating with another adoptive mama here on YouTube, and if you haven't heard of her or their family, you should definitely go check them out. They adopted an older child from the Philippines, and their story is just so emotional, so raw, and so amazing. The first time I came across her, she introduced herself through Instagram, and I checked out her channel and I was literally in tears 2 minutes into their adoption story. So definitely go check them out if you have not heard of the Hayes family. I will put an iCard here and their link down below and their channel at the end of my video if you are interested in checking them out. We both wanted to collaborate in honor of National Adoption Month just to bring about some positivity and some awareness in regards to adoption and just the struggles, the challenges, and the pros of adoption. How we did this collaboration is she sent me a list of questions that she wanted to ask me in regards to our adoption and our journey, and I sent her a list of my questions that I'm curious about. So we will be answering different questions. It may or may not be the same, but this is the list of questions that she sent me. So for me, this is, I feel like, quite personal because Peter has his own story, I have my own story, and Peter shared a little bit about him. Over on Instagram, actually, we did an IG live with one of our friends from It's Chen's Life, and they're another adoptive family here on YouTube and on Instagram, and so Peter touched a little more about his side of the story there. But in the gist, Peter was adopted himself at 6 months old from South Korea, and so adoption has always been a part of his life, and he knew that one day he would want to adopt as well. And as for me, I came to know the Lord whenever I was 12 years old, and that was in a season of just darkness for me, and it was a time whenever my parents divorced, and I have been estranged from my dad since. I have not seen him in person at all, and so grieving the physical presence of a father figure, I came to know the Lord, and I came to learn of my identity and my worth, and that God is my father, and nothing can be taken away from me because I have been adopted into his family. I came to know the Lord through that, and ever since then I've just had a huge heart for adoption. What was the most challenging part of the adoption process for me and Peter? And she asked for before, during, and after. I would say before the adoption, it's like we knew that we wanted to adopt, but we were quite overwhelmed with the number of ways we can go through with adoption. There's private adoption, there's foster care to adopt, domestic obviously, international, and just like the number of different organizations, different routes we could take was really overwhelming. And so that was really hard for us, trying to narrow it down to which agencies and what would be the best for our little family. And during the adoption process, I would say the waiting was definitely the hardest. We started May of 2018 and picked up our little boy January of 2020. So that was quite a long time for us. I would say the hardest part after is the grief and the adjustment and bonding with our child. The instantaneous bond that we so desperately wished and desired for did not happen, and it's okay because I mean, when he is coming with all that he is carrying, you know, as a little boy, a little toddler who really is being taken away from everything he's ever known and coming into our family, that is quite scary, and it's going to take time because he's grieving and he's trying to bond and trying to learn a new language and all of that stuff. So it is quite overwhelming for sure. What was the most encouraging part of the adoption process? I think the most encouraging part for me, and obviously Peter's answer is probably going to be different, but he's not here with me today, so I'm sorry guys, but the most encouraging part of the adoption process for me would have to be, I was blown away at the service that our adoption agency provided, and the care and the love that they poured into our family and to us to make sure that everything's done in a timely manner. And they were just so loving and so attentive to our needs. I am just literally blown away at how amazing our adoption agency has been to us. And in even like post-adoption care, like they have made sure that we are taken care of and that we know that we can reach out to them at any time. And we are just so grateful that God has brought us to them to partner with us in bringing our child home. Like, what a blessing that is to find such an organization that not only loves the Lord but also serves and serves well. What surprised you the most after meeting and having Ezra with you the first few days and weeks? We were pleasantly surprised. Like Peter and me, from the very beginning of this, we were prepared for worst case scenario. And I know that sounds kind of like negative, but like we really came in not having any expectations, because we want to meet Ezra where he was in his grieving and mourning and adjustment. We were quite pleasantly surprised in that Ezra did not have any sleep problems, as a lot of kids do whenever they first enter into a family. And we have had no sleep issues whatsoever since like the very beginning. I would say we only had minor sleep issues because of time change and traveling from Korea to America. But you guys, like overall, Ezra has not had any problems really with sleep, and he's been sleeping like 8 to 12 hours, you know, ever since we got him. It's just been like such a sweet blessing that we didn't know that we needed, because we were obviously all emotionally tired and mentally tired as well. Has the relationship between Ezra and his siblings been what you expected or different? I expected that we would have to struggle a little more for them to love Ezra, if that makes sense. I was expecting a little more of like fighting to bond, because Ezra is coming in as a toddler and not a baby, and so they really haven't had time to bond with him like inside of my belly and then as a newborn and as he grows. But I was quite pleasantly surprised. Like, this is another amazing like blessing that God has given us, and it's only by his grace. I feel like we didn't really do anything other than like we prayed for best case scenario and expected in reality to be worst case or whatever it is. Like, we know there may be struggles with bonding and stuff with siblings, and like Edith and Eli from day one were so excited for Ezra, and they loved him and accepted him with open arms. And if you guys go back, if you guys remember just like our first meeting with Ezra whenever the kids were there, Edith and Eli were devastated that Ezra couldn't come home with us. And it was just like the most bittersweet feeling that I have as a mother, to see my children care so much about their little brother. Like, there are no words to describe that joy that I felt in knowing that they really do see Ezra as their little brother and they love him so much. And if you guys watch his welcome home video when we first arrived, oh my goodness, the love Eli had for Ezra was just overwhelming, and it's the sweetest love I've ever seen from one kid to another. What's the number one piece of advice you would give to someone who wants to adopt but is fearful? I would ask you, why are you fearful? And I want you to figure out what your fears are in going with this adoption. And I've actually talked to some parents or some couples who are wanting to adopt but are also fearful, and everybody has different fears. Like, it could be financial fears of not being able to afford the adoption. That was definitely one of ours. It could also be with fear of maybe not being able to love them well because they're not biological. That's also another fear that a lot of parents have. And I would say, take it to the Lord. That's what we did. Pray about it, seek counsel. Don't just keep it in your head. I say talk to people, talk to your significant other, talk to those people in your community who you trust. And for us, we talked to like Peter's parents, and we sought out, you know, wise counsel from like church members and just friends, and seek out, is this in his will for you? And I feel like you will know in your heart, you will have peace about it. Those fears will subside if they are not fears that are true. Last question that Kate is asking is, how have you personally grown through this process? I would say I have personally grown a lot in trusting of the Lord in the process. And I feel like I have had lots of anxieties, lots of fears from the very beginning of the process. And as we continue to move forward with this process, and granted it has been a very trying 2 years, but like I see God's faithfulness in it all, and it has taught me patience, honestly. Like to see the whole process from kind of like God's point of view, if that makes any sense at all. When we first started out, I really did think like, oh yes, like we would love to adopt because we want to give a child a forever family. But looking back now, what a naive thing for me to say, because Ezra has blessed my life so much, and every day to look at my sweet little boy and see just so much of God's faithfulness in his life has really humbled me, and it has made me appreciate life just that much more, because God has purpose for his life and for our lives. This boy who I did not give birth to calls me mommy, and he is my son, and every time I look at him, I'm just like, I can't believe that he's here. Like, I can't believe that he's my son. What a blessing that is. Thank you so much for watching. If you watched it all this way, I hope that you guys find some encouragement from this, and look forward to more videos coming your way. We've actually had a pretty rough past couple of weeks or month, I don't know. It's been kind of a blur, but I have been updating over on Instagram just more personal things that's been going on in my life, and so it's been hard, but I am very honored to be able to collaborate with Kate today to bring you just a little more awareness to adoption and National Adoption Month. And yeah, anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I will stop rambling, and I hope that you guys have an amazing day wherever you are, and I will catch you in our next one. Bye guys.